Hey, scrappy people. It's Tracy Reed here today with a 12 by 12 process video, and today I'm going to be scrap lifting myself. So I had that digital layout that I just showed the camera that I did a few years back, and I came across it on my Facebook timeline, you know, the on this day stuff, and I just loved it so much that I wanted to recreate it in paper. So today I'm using the Hello Fall collection, the simple set that I designed for, sorry, it is not Hello Fall. Gosh, I'm losing my mind. Happy Harvest. Hello Fall was last year. Anyway, I'm using the Happy Harvest collection I designed for Simple Stories. And I am going to recreate this layout as closely as possible. But I am going to do a few changes, not too many, but a few, because some things that are digital don't translate well into paper scrapbooking. So right now I'm just cutting down my papers, and I've decided the order of my papers, and I'm going to use that green gingham as the background, and then the main floral, or the floral as the main photo, and then a couple of other, these are the couple other strips that I'm going to use. And I decided that I wanted that wood grain to be a little bit bigger, so I just cut another strip, and I'm going to adhere it down, and you won't even know the difference because that rainbow stripe will cover it up. So I'm just laying everything out here and seeing if I like the way it looks, and I decide that I need to add that doily that's on the original, and then I'm going to bust out my silhouette machine, and I'm going to create a scallop from this paper. So there's my silhouette, and I've already teed up my cut file in the silhouette software, and I'm just going to trim the branding strip off of this paper, and then I'm going to put it on the silhouette mat, and I just want that newsprinty sort of top piece there to be my scallop. So into the machine it goes, and it's going to cut, and it's super fast because it's a really simple file. So it is done. And I'm going to peel it off the backing, and now I'm going to start adhering down all of these paper strips. So I want to make sure that I get this floral paper nice and centered. So I really pay attention here and make sure that it looks right. Luckily, because it's sort of a stripy pattern, that gingham, it was easy to align it top to bottom. Now I'm going to put down the wood grain and the stripe on top of it. And at this point, I should have adhered the scallop first. I'm going to pay for that because I realized that I had cut this scallop with a large border at the top so that I could layer it, and then I forgot to layer it. So I'm going to pull up this brown wood grain just as much as I can. It's already stuck because I bought the Tombow permanent adhesive, and I meant to buy the Tombow repositionable stuff, but I did not. So I'm going to put down my photos, and then I realized that I didn't squish them together enough. I want there to be a little bit of a floral border on the right hand side of that photo of Finn. So I'm going to pull them up and reposition them a little bit. Am I the only one that when I'm using photos of all of my boys, I have to put them in age order? I think I was thinking about that when I was doing this. I'm like, nope, it doesn't make sense any other way. They have to be in age order. Sorry about my dog in the background deciding she wants to get off the couch and go outside. She makes a lot of jingles. So I'm going to recreate the banner under the title, and I've decided that I need a few different papers, and I should have used those branding strips because I cut these triangles out and then decide I want them to be smaller. I spared you that process, but the branding strips would have worked perfectly. So I'm just going to stick them down as a banner, placing them first before I stick them, making sure I have as many as I need. And now I'm going to glue them down, trying to avoid putting them over my kids' heads. I'll pull that fall up so that I can put the sticker over the banner. Man, I am struggling with that Tombow adhesive. I really have a hard time with that tape runner. I'm going to have to cave in and get an ATG at some point. So I started hearing some stickers down, and then I decide I want to work on that little title piece up there at the top. And up at the top on the original, it's like a cutout quote bubble, and it says "Hello Baby" on it. And I already have that "Hello Fall" in the title, so I decide I'm going to use this green gingham card, and I'm going to trim it down so that it's not a 3x4. And I decide when I put it up on the thing that it's just still too much gingham. So I'm going to back it with the newsprint that I had already cut. And I'm just going to create a whitish border to help differentiate it from the background gingham. And I think that's a lot better. It's still a lot of gingham, but once I add stuff to this, it won't be as gingham full. Full of gingham heavy. Yeah, gingham heavy. So I popped it up on craft foam from Michael's, and I'm adding in some more of these stickers. I am going to move that fox at some point. I decide I want that wreath down there in the bottom corner. And I am going to start replicating some of the more complicated aspects of the original file, the original layout. So I have on the original layout a piece of rickrack right there, and I decide instead of using rickrack, since I don't have a lot of ribbon, I don't use a lot of ribbon and notions in my scrapbooking, I'm just going to use this gold sparkly, it's just a gold sparkly scallop, I guess sort of a ribbon, and I'm gonna use that to replicate the rickrack instead of actual rickrack. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to put it somewhere else too, but I don't. So now in the original there is a string, and putting curled strings on digital scrapbooking is super easy. You don't have to worry about the logistics of it or anything. Putting it on paper scrapbooking, less easy. So I am working out how long this string needs to be, tying the bow, and I'm just going to use some liquid glue in like places to sort of hold it down. And I also grabbed some staples and put some staples in it too, because the glue has a hard time holding it down without me doing this. So I'm just going to grab some staples and then I'll pull them out later. And I decide that I do need a darker or just another border above the photos. There on the original layout there is a ribbon, but like I said, I don't have a lot of notions, so I'm just going to use another piece of that rainbow paper, and I'll notch it into a banner end, and then I'm going to put it underneath the photos and glue it down. Then I'm going to do the same on the other end, and you won't be able to tell that it wasn't a full 12-inch paper strip because the banner covers that up. So I'm going to reposition these little banner pieces so that they go where they're supposed to go. And there are buttons on the original, and so I'm going to grab some buttons from my stash that match the page so that I can recreate some of the embellishments from the page. the original page. It's funny because I don't use a lot of buttons in my paper scrapbooking, but I use them all the time in digital scrapbooking. So I didn't have a lot of buttons, but I did have some that matched. So I'm going to put one right in the middle of that bow, and then I'm going to put one on either end of that banner. Then I'm just going to put some spread out around the page a little bit. And I'm using some glue dots or some liquid glue to help adhere those smaller ones down, but I am going to sew down the bigger buttons, especially that one that doesn't want to stick on that leather bow. I think it'll be good to hold down the bow and the button if I just stitch the whole thing down. So I'm going to work in a few more of these stickers. I'm a sucker for using my stickers since I spent so much time drawing these embellishments. Initially, I love using them. So here's where I decide I'm going to sew down these buttons, and I'm going to spare you having to watch that process. But first, in the corners of the layout, there are little dot sprinkles, which is a common embellishment in digital scrapbooking. So I just used my hole punch and it made a bunch of dots, and I'm going to just put them down one by one with a little bit of liquid glue, kind of haphazardly, making sure that some of them are overlapping each other to recreate that look. So I have some in that corner, and now I'm going to do the bottom corner, and I adore how this layout came out. I think I might make this a series of me scrap lifting some of my older digital scrapbooking layouts and turning them paper, because it really, like, I find it easier to be creative digitally because it's just so much easier to experiment digitally. And so it's just, I find my creativity to be a little bit more when I digital scrapbook. So I figure if I start scrap lifting my digital layouts, or maybe some of my friends' digital layouts, it will bring some much needed creativity into my paper scrapbooking, which I am super excited about. So I think I am going to make this a series, and I'm going to scrap lift myself. We'll call it Digital to Paper. And this is just about done. I'm going to sew down these buttons now, and I'm going to spare you most of that process. So that one's already sewed down, and now I'm going to sew down this one. And I just make some pilot holes so that I can align the button correctly. And then once I get it down nice and centered on that bow, I can just work the string through a few more times. And then I will tie it off. I'm okay with it being a little bit messy and imperfect. That is the whole point of paper scrapbooking, because there's no way you're going to achieve digital scrapbooking perfection in paper scrapbooking. Now I'm just going to pull the staples up that I used to hold down the string while it was drying, and you won't be able to see the little tiny holes that the staples created, so that's perfect. And I am just about done with this layout. I'm going to show you the close-ups of the layout, and then I will add in the close-up of the original layout for comparison. So if you enjoyed this video, if you'd like to see more digital to paper scrapbooking pages, I would love it if you give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. I do all kinds of scrapbook videos. Thank you.